A few weeks ago, I released a video reviewing the Native Instruments Komplete Kontrol A49 Smart Key Controller. I purchased it because my M-Audio 49 key rig that I've been using for the last 10 years finally broke. In the video, I walked through my first impressions with the controller, and so far I really like it. A few days after publishing that video, my full-sized keyboard, the Yamaha P225, stopped working, so I had to replace that as well. To be fair, I've also had that for about 10 years, so it was definitely time. But I didn't envision spending so much money on keyboards all at once. My wallet was not happy. But for both new keyboards, I remember doing a lot of research on which one I should buy. Which one is the best? What features do I need? How many reviews do they have? Who else is using them? So I thought it would be fun to make a video about it. What is the best MIDI keyboard, and why that question ultimately doesn't matter. Part 1. Review of the Komplete Kontrol A49. This is the Native Instruments Komplete Kontrol A49 Smart Key Controller. It has a ton of programmable buttons, the keys are unweighted but feel really good to play, the mod and pitch bend wheels are responsive, and the keyboard overall feels really sturdy and well built. There are a ton of features I could talk at length about, but I want to tell you about the main factors that went into me purchasing this specific keyboard. 1. I already use a lot of Kontakt instruments and libraries, so when looking for a controller, using one that is built by the same people to specifically use those instruments and libraries seems like a no-brainer. Second, price. The A series is great, but Native Instruments has also released an S series of keyboards, with all the same features and then some. Most noticeably, the S series have big LCD screens on the front of all of their keyboards that make shifting through instruments and applying different effects just a lot easier and more hands-on. But it comes at quite an additional cost, so I decided to opt out of the newer features. The third and probably most important factor that went into this purchase was size. This controller was replacing the one that goes on my desk, and it's not a huge desk. I don't have a fancy pull-out shelf where I can hide an 88 key workstation. I had a very limited space to fill, and the A49 fit perfect. That was also another reason I opted out of the big LED screens on the S series. So like I said in the beginning of the video, if you're like me, when you go to buy something, you do a ton of research. Look up reviews, get to the bottom of why you need that specific thing. In my research, I found a ton of specs and features that are really cool, and I'm glad I get to play around with them. But in the end, I went with the A49 over a ton of other keyboards for price, size, and brand loyalty. Part 2. Review of the Yamaha P225B digital piano. This is the Yamaha P225 digital piano. This replaced my Yamaha P105 as my main workhorse keyboard. Anytime I need to track piano, I'll use this for the more realistic feel of the weighted keys. I also use this for any live gigs I do. If I'm playing in a pit or with a band, I'll usually bring this and run it through my computer with MainStage. This is also the keyboard I practice on daily. I take classical piano lessons, so I need the full range of 88 keys to practice effectively and simulate an actual piano. When looking up reviews for this, much like the A49, I also found a ton of features that my P105 did not have. It looks like they completely redid the virtual resonance modeling for all the built-in sounds. Basically, they changed how the reverb samples to emulate realistic instruments more realistically. It's also a lot louder with a brand new speaker system. There are also a lot more sounds to pick from. There's a main sound and then 3 variations for each of those sounds, whereas the P105 only had the main instrument sound and 1 variation. All the normal stuff is still there, built-in metronome, rhythm play-along track, the ability to record yourself playing, etc. The piano also came with an app to help you learn piano, which is cool. I haven't tried it, but package deals like this are pretty common when you're looking for keyboards geared towards beginner and intermediate level players. So why did I choose this one? Well, like I said, I needed the full-size keyboard with the weighted keys. That's one check, but a lot of keyboards are full-sized. I needed USB connectivity to record and play live. Check. I also wanted enough ports to connect all the pedals I needed, and this is where the big decisions came in. When I'm playing for a gig, I connect into my computer and run sounds through MainStage. Because of this, I don't really need a workstation with 10,000 instruments and built-in effects. Something like a Nord definitely crossed my mind when I was looking for what to buy, but with a $5,000 price tag, that just wasn't in the cards. Like the last keyboard, price is a big factor in my decision. But I do still need enough ports to plug in analog pedals that work with my virtual sessions. Specifically, sustain and expression pedals. Sustain obviously for more piano sounds, but a lot of the time if I'm gigging like in a musical, I'll be playing strings or brass, and I want the ability to adjust my volume as needed. That's where the expression pedal comes in. The P225 has a 1/4-inch connector and a 5-prong connector. Just enough for an expression pedal and this cool 3-pedal unit I found for like $80 online. So with a little research, a little compromise, I cut that original price of $5,000 down to about $1,000 after the pedals. And I didn't really sacrifice any features because I wouldn't have used them anyway. Like I said, the 225 is marketed as a beginner to intermediate model. And while I do consider myself an advanced keyboard player with advanced keyboard player needs, I'm all for saving a couple $1,000s and still getting a solid piece of gear. So while this keyboard did need to meet some more specific requirements, the main factors that went into me buying it, again, were price, size, and brand loyalty. Conclusion. So what should you take away from this video? Hopefully I explained why I purchased these specific keyboards for my studio and my professional needs. Is the A49 better than the S49? Is the P225 better than a Nord Stage 4? On paper, no. Definitely not. But being an artist isn't about features and numbers on paper. It's about telling stories through your unique process. And any piece of gear you buy should be used to further that process. So before you go out and try to find the best keyboard or headphones or whatever, ask yourself what makes it the best for you. And that answer can only come with time. If you're new to music production or just starting to learn an instrument, you probably don't know what's best for you. But that probably also means you don't need 50,000 presets or the most top-of-the-line instrument. It's frustrating, trust me, I know. I was there, we all were. My advice, write down the things you want to be able to do, and go into detail. If you want to make EDM, what kind? What sort of sounds can you hear in your head that you want to produce? You want to play drums? What kind of music? What cymbals and snares are used in the songs that you want to replicate? Look up videos of artists doing the thing you want to do and see what they're using. Better yet, find an interview where they talk about what they started out with. I bet whatever you're deciding to buy is probably better than what they had. And most importantly, don't let your gear limit you. You hear this all the time, gear doesn't matter. Well, sorry to say, but it does. But that doesn't mean that creativity and skill don't matter. A master with a $100 guitar is going to play a lot better than a beginner with a $5,000 guitar. That's what people usually mean when they say gear doesn't matter. Your voice as an artist will come from your skill and your creative approach to making music. And that same creative approach can be applied to the gear you already have. One of my favorite examples of gear being used in the wrong way is the program Flash by Adobe. It's now called Adobe Animate and it's for animation. But when it was released in 1996, it was actually made for web design. Users played around with the tools they were given and found out that they could make animation. Their creativity and mastery of the tools that they had elevated the program into something else. I'm sure you can think of a story where you had to jerry-rig a bunch of equipment together to do something that they weren't meant to do. I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. That's the mindset that makes great artists, regardless of the gear that you have. And yeah, if you have a couple extra $1,000 lying around, go ahead and buy that top-of-the-line product. I'm sure it's fantastic, but don't be afraid to hunker down and really learn what's already around you. Or maybe start with something that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but is still a solid choice for the level that you're at. You also need to be honest with what level you're at. You might be surprised with what it can do. And that's all I have for this video. If you stuck around this long, I really appreciate it and would love if you liked this video. Any interaction helps get this to more musicians who need to hear it. Subscribe for more videos like this, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.